Will I be wrong for divorcing my wife because she wants to have a child? About 6 years ago, I, 28 male, made a huge mistake. I got drunk at a friend's wedding, and a woman named Anna, 39 female, who I had rejected several times that night, ended up forcing herself on me while I was nearly passed out. It was a nightmare, and I fell into a deep depression afterward. Things got even worse when Anna showed up at my door a few weeks later, claiming she was pregnant. I begged her to have an abortion and leave me alone, but my dad and stepmother welcomed her into our house like nothing had happened. I've never wanted kids, and I made that very clear to Anna. I told her I didn't want anything to do with her, but I would pay child support. My relationship with my dad deteriorated after that, and I cut contact with him for supporting her. After a few months, my son was born, and Anna just disappeared. I had no idea where she went, and my dad refused to help because I had cut him off. I was completely on my own. But something unexpected happened. I fell in love with my son, Archie, the moment I held him. Watching him fight to survive, and then holding him in my arms, was the happiest moment of my life. It was hard, but I made it work with just the two of us. 3 years ago, I met Claire, 26 female, who would later become my wife. We dated for a year and have been married for 2. Even when we were just dating, she was always perfect. She adored Archie, played with him, read him stories, and never said anything negative about him. She knew what had happened with Anna, but she was so loving and understanding. I felt like I had won the lottery by meeting her. Her family was just as welcoming. They loved Archie, offered to babysit him, and even took him on vacations so Claire and I could have some time alone. But a few weeks ago, everything changed. I told Claire I wanted to get a vasectomy to improve our sex life. She asked if I was sure, and when I said yes, she got very quiet and changed the subject. I knew something was wrong, so I kept bringing it up until she finally admitted that she had been hoping I would change my mind and agree to have another child. She said she understood why I didn't want kids because of my past, but she believed I'd be a perfect dad for our second child too. She even told me she had asked Archie if he wanted a little brother or sister, and he was excited about it. I felt like she was trying to manipulate him, and we ended up having a huge fight. The next day, she apologized but still wanted me to think it over. She said she'd support me no matter what I decided, but that this was really important to her. I was hurt because she had never mentioned this before. She said she was allowed to change her mind, and suggested we talk to her parents so I could hear their perspective before making a decision. Last night, we had dinner with her parents, and it was a disaster. I explained how I never wanted kids until Archie came along, and how he was the exception. But her parents told me how much Claire wanted to have a child of her own, and how it could be good for all of us. Then they said something that devastated me. They said they wanted to have their first grandchild, and that Archie wasn't their real grandson because he wasn't related by blood. My wife then said she was having second thoughts about adopting Archie because he already had a mother, and she didn't think she could bond with him like a real mother would. I was crushed. I didn't want to make a scene in front of my in-laws, so I told them I'd think about it and asked for some time. Now I'm sitting at home, feeling like I don't know Claire at all. I'm questioning if she's been pretending all this time. I'm terrified that if we have another child, she and her family will ignore Archie in favor of their real grandchild. But if we don't have another child, I'm afraid she'll resent us or even become abusive toward Archie. At the same time, I don't want to throw away an otherwise perfect relationship. I love Claire, but I don't know if I can trust her anymore. Would I be wrong if I divorced her over this? I'm not sure if I'm overreacting or if this relationship can be saved. I could really use some advice. Part 2 update. First of all, I want to thank everyone who took the time to read my previous post and offer advice. Your responses really helped me see things from different perspectives, and I appreciate that more than I can say. Here's what happened after that dinner. Since Archie plays football every Saturday, I asked a friend of ours to look after him for a while so I could talk to Claire without him around. I knew this conversation could get heated, and I didn't want him to be there if things went south. I know a lot of people suggested I should divorce Claire to protect my son and to let her move on, but when we sat down to talk, I wasn't ready to give up on our marriage just yet. I was willing to compromise and consider having a second child, as long as we went to couples therapy to address her and her family's feelings toward Archie. I just wanted my family to be happy. I asked Claire to explain why and when she had changed her mind. She started apologizing right away and admitted that she had always dreamed of having a big family. She said she tried to convince herself that she could accept not having children because she loved me and loved Archie. She admitted she had lied when I asked her about it because she didn't want to break up and felt like I was giving her an ultimatum, either have kids or choose me. I never meant it to be one, but I didn't think it was fair for any of us to stay in a relationship if our goals didn't align. She also admitted she had been hoping I would change my mind once I saw what a great mom she was to Archie. What surprised me the most was that Claire's mom had actually tried to convince her not to marry me, saying it wasn't fair to expect me to change my mind. Claire told me it was her mom's idea to babysit Archie and do all those things together, hoping she would bond with him and get used to the idea that he might be our only child. When I asked why her mom had made those hurtful comments about blood being important, Claire said she had asked them to say that to convince me how important it was for her to have her own kids. I told Claire how hurt I was by everything, especially when she said she had changed her mind about adopting Archie. She said she was scared that one day Archie would want to reconnect with his birth mother and that he wouldn't love her anymore. She had been reading stories from other step-parents who had been cast aside when the birth parents came back into the picture or when there was a divorce involved. Her anxiety had gotten worse over the past year. She said she had always introduced herself as Archie's stepmom when she picked him up from daycare because she didn't want to take Anna's place. I lost my patience and reminded her that Anna had abandoned us, so there was no place to take. We started arguing again. She accused me of not understanding how hard it is to be a step-parent, and I told her she was fighting against windmills. After we calmed down, she said she got even more scared when Archie started asking about his mom. She felt guilty because she was sure he only asked because she kept correcting everyone about the whole mother/stepmother thing. She also said I made it worse by not telling him the truth about Anna and trying to sugarcoat things by saying his mom felt guilty because he was born very sick and didn't want to see him suffer. I just didn't know how to tell him the truth without making him feel abandoned. Claire accused me of still caring about Anna, which hurt because it was so far from the truth. When I told her I just panicked and made up a lie, she said I should have refused to answer and taken Archie to a therapist right away, which we did eventually. Then Claire said I should have tried to find Anna so we could split custody and Archie could be with his real mom. I lost it. I yelled at her that Anna was a horrible person who had essayed me, tried to manipulate me when she got pregnant, and abandoned my son right after he was born. She never bothered to reach out, and if it were up to me, she'd never see Archie. Claire yelled back that I couldn't understand what a woman goes through and that maybe Anna left because of PPD, and I made it worse by moving to another country where Anna couldn't find us. I reminded her that wasn't why we moved, and everyone back home had my contact information, so it's not like I was hiding. What finally broke me was when she said it was my fault that Anna left because I refused to step up and marry her. Claire tried to apologize right away, but I just told her to leave and that I wanted a divorce. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I locked myself in Archie's room and cried until she left. She packed some stuff and later texted me saying she'd be staying with her parents. The rest of the day was a blur. I picked up Archie and briefly told my friend I was getting a divorce. She and her wife hugged me and offered their support, especially if I needed someone to look after Archie. I spent the rest of the day with him, and we had a little pajamada, just the two of us. We ordered pizza, played with his new toys, and watched movies until he fell asleep. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to write this update to vent. I feel like my life just imploded, and I'm heartbroken. I don't even know how Archie is going to take it, and that's going to be hard. Final update. There's nothing else to say. Thanks again for all the advice. I spoke with my wife. Things were worse than I thought, and I've been an idiot for 3 years. She moved out, and I will be initiating the divorce on Monday.